Yeah, bitches be ballin'. Episode 19. Hi, Kayla.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going okay. Uh, if you can see, we've got a little tag here, a little intro. The doctor is in. And I'm not talking about, ear, nose, and throat doctor. I'm talking about Dr. A, Steve Alexander.
The
Welcome,
doctor.
Steve.
Hey guys,
Welcome. Thanks for coming on. How are you?
thank you for having me. I'm good. I'm here. The Braves are losing right now. That is not a good thing for me right now. But the Hawks are also losing. But I'm good. I'm still on a Masters high. I think I got to go to Augusta on Wednesday, and Rory won on Sunday. Like that was incredible to watch. Just all the drama, and he kept trying to choke it away, but he held on at the end, and it's super fun. I love the Masters. I get fired up for it.
There is nothing like the dulcet tones of the piano of the masters, and I have to say, just because my dad is a lifelong golfer and I used to, caddy for him a couple times, I've got a special spot in my heart for all things golf, and the Masters is a tradition like no other, and, as weird and creepy as it feels at times, God love it. Like I'm in it. I'm all about it. So it was I'm jealous that you got to go. I would love that's on my bucket list for sure. It just looks like a beautiful course, like super classy. All the nature and the birds, like yeah. So I'm glad you got to go.
Well, and they're very serious about the no phones policy. So
Mm,
no one has a phone on the entire property, except maybe the guys wearing the green jackets. But it's weird because you lock your phone in the car and you're not going to have it for like 10 hours. It's a very weird feeling because I don't think most of us have been without our phone for that long. And then you're on the course
mhm.
and you're like, "Ooh, I wonder about this." And then you want to Google it and you can't do that. Um, but it's cool because when everybody's watching everything, like there's no phones up in the air, and that's all you would
Mhm.
have seen on TV. Every one of those last shots on the back nine, everybody would have been filming everything. So I love the fact that they have outlawed phones, and I wouldn't mind other sporting events doing the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, anytime you go to like a sporting game, you look around, everybody is always on their phone, like whether they're recording something or they're texting someone. So I feel like that kind of experience where like there's no phones is just it's nice. It's something different, right? You're actually focusing on the event, which I think is great.
And it's weird, like it is a
Mhm.
very weird feeling. And you start making a list in your brain of things you have to do when you get back to the car and get your phone. But then
Yeah.
I had to drive for 3 hours, so um, it's just a very interesting, surreal trip to not have your phone on the course. And one of the security guys walked in front of us during the par three contest on Wednesday, and I heard him say, "What kind of device? Where is she? On my way." And I was like, "Oh man, somebody got a phone
Busted.
in here, and they're about
Busted.
to get they're about to get thrown out." And I watched him walk all the way over, and he approached this woman, and she pulled this device out of her pocket, but she had an earbud in, and she actually was undercover security for the Masters,
Ah.
Mm,
and he didn't
that
know it.
makes sense.
So, but if she had a phone and she was not supposed to be there, she was getting tossed.
Do they have like little radio things that you can rent and to listen to the commentary? Oh, they don't, huh?
Hmm.
I don't believe so.
Huh. So you
I
just
didn't
have to
see
rely
anything in
on
anybody's ear.
leaderboards to see what the scores are.
Yeah, and they've got leaderboards all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you're just kind of flying blind. That's why I don't mind watching it on TV. It's actually more fun to watch it on TV than it is to be there just from a golf standpoint because you know everything that's going on. But being there and seeing Amen Corner and seeing the holes, and when you watch it on
Yeah.
TV, you're like, oh man, I know that hole, and it looks. Everybody says it, but there's so much more undulation and
Mhm.
terrain drop offs, and it's just so much different in person than it is on TV. But it's cool. It's awesome, man. I'm so glad I'm very lucky that I got to go.
Yeah. Was it expensive?
Not for me. My neighbor got a ticket, and he said, if you drive it, the ticket's yours.
Oh, sweet.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it cost me a tank of gas.
Nice one.
Wow.
And the food's always really cheap
Like
on the
$2
courses.
for a sandwich. Yeah, it's
And I think
silly.
that's the case with all the majors, because I've been to one major. I went to Pebble Beach a few years ago. And I just remember the food being super cheap. Like the tickets weren't, because it was a lottery too, but once you're on the course, so inexpensive. I loved it. It was great. And they really like treated you like I don't know, like first class patrons too.
Yeah, the Masters definitely does that. It seemed like there were more people here this year than the last time I went. It was very crowded, lines for the bathrooms and stuff. And they even had guys in the bathrooms, like, this stall's open, come over here, like directing traffic in the
That's nice.
bathrooms. And it was awesome.
Well,
Is this a golf show?
I know, right? It's okay. We can talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about here.
Hell yeah.
Well, so are you drinking a beer, Steve?
I am.
I like it. What kind of beer are you drinking?
It is a Creature Comfort Tropicalia. It's an Athens brewery. I think you can only get it in Georgia and South Carolina. And they are semi-famous now because the Avengers movie, do you remember when Fat Thor was drinking beer all the time?
Yeah.
He was drinking Creature Comforts because the directors went to Athens. The brothers went to Athens and were drinking Creature Comforts, and they liked it so much they put it in the movie. So Thor is drinking that beer.
I didn't know that.
And I had my kid with me. Soren was with me at the movie theater like 10 years ago, or however long it came out. And we're sitting there, and Thor's drinking a Tropicalia. He's like, Dad, it's your beer. It's that beer you like. So that was very exciting.
So is that like an IPA or a Pilsner, or what kind
It's
of?
an IPA.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I wanted to first talk, because we didn't really catch up after the season ended, but your rock and roll league, which I think Doug Marsh won for the first time. Really outstanding result. He had a great team. I think Bob came in second. I came in third. But did you end up beating Malcolmus in the 16-teamer?
No, I got to the finals in Bob's. It's Bob Nastanovich's league. It's called Forge Chain Net, which the winner gets a chain basketball net, which is called a Forge Chain Net, or a Forged Chain Net. And it's a 14-team league, and I got to the finals in like all but one of my leagues. Rock and roll is the only league I didn't do very well in, and I got to the finals in all of them, but I didn't win any of the final matches. So,
oh man,
I got beat by Malcolmus. I got some money for that. I got beat in 30 deep in the finals, and I was in one other final and screwed that up. So it is what it is. At the end of the year, man, everybody's sitting down and everybody's hurt, and there's only so much you can do to overcome it.
I know.
Yeah,
dude.
I mean, it's still pretty impressive that you made it that far in so many leagues too. That's a huge accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sad at all. I mean, that's the whole goal, is to get there, to get to the finals and have a chance to win. So I didn't win them, but I'm especially the 30 team league. Like, I won it last year, and then I got back to the finals this year, and that's almost impossible to do. So I was pretty psyched.
30 deep. That's deep. So since we have you on, FSWA Hall of Fame writer, Dr. A. Steve Alexander, and Kayla being a journalist herself, I thought we could focus our conversation on writing about fantasy, how you got your start, and how it's going with Kayla, kind of developing her voice and tone and building up her audience. And I will say that, like, when I first started doing fantasy, Roto World was the go-to back then. And then you kind of developed a taste, not unlike how you develop a taste for certain podcasters these days. You develop a taste for certain writing styles and certain writers, and I really gravitated towards your columns, Steve, because I love kind of you talking about indie rock as you liken some players to some musicians, and just your really like free wheeling way of just talking about the game recaps and the players and stuff. So it made it really fun, to like learn about stuff that's happening around the league. And so I really appreciated your voice being out there. So I'd love to know like how you got started in it and just yeah, how you got started in writing for fantasy.
Well, thank you for asking, and thank you for all those kind words. I was introduced to fantasy sports in '91. I got in a baseball league with a bunch of guys at work. I had no idea what I was doing. I made some dumb trades. Back then, the commissioner would have to do the stats by hand every Tuesday when the stats would come out in the USA Today, and you open it up, and like every player's stats are on these 2 pages, and you get a yardstick out and a highlighter, and you just start plugging. We had word processors back then. We didn't really have computers, but you'd start plugging numbers in, and then you'd have to go to Kinko's, which wasn't around back then. We had a little indie shop called Copy, and you'd have to go there and make 12 copies of 12 pages of stats, then take them to work and hand them out to everybody. And it was like stat day once a week. You'd get the stat package and you just start looking through it, and like it was so exciting and fun and cool. And even though I was losing, I was like, oh, this is awesome, and see how many home runs I had and whatnot. So the next year I decided I was going to start a basketball league. We were in Indiana. And so I got 12 guys together, and we did a very what's the word? What's it called when you go camping and there's nothing? Oh, primitive, very primitive basketball league. And I think it was just like points, rebounds, assists, and you had groups of 6, and you could pick a guy out of those groups. And anyway, so that transferred within a year or two into a 12-man league. And I became really obsessed with fantasy football, basketball, and baseball. By like 92, I was all the way in. And then I don't know what year it was. I feel like it was 99. I was flipping channels on NBA TV late night, and there's Rick Kamla in his attic, in the attic. And he had this fantasy show on NBA TV that ran every night at 1:00. There was no Matthew Berry back then. Well, Matthew Berry was at Roto World, but there was no fantasy football at ESPN. There were no shows on TV about fantasy. They never talked about it. The old school broadcasters didn't like to talk about it. Basketball was sort of like a redheaded stepchild back then.
Yeah.
Baseball and football were king, and basketball was just whatever. So I watched Kamla do the show, and I was like, oh my God, if he can do this, he has a show on TV about fantasy. If he can do that, then I can do something cool with fantasy. So I had a buddy of mine had showed me Roto World somewhere around that same time. So it all kind of came together. There was Roto World, there was Rick on NBA TV, there was my obsession. And in college, I was a communications and history guy. I never really took like sports writing classes, but I had a degree in communications, and I was always told by my friends that I'm a really good writer. You should really write something. Like you're a good writer. Because I'd always joke around. Like I'd send notes out to our fantasy leagues, and I'd sort of like commentate on who did well that week and who didn't, and I'd kind of bust on people that didn't do well. And people were like, man, this is so funny and good. You should really write. Sorry, my mouth is very dry right now.
No, take as many swigs as you need to.
So that led to me pursuing Matthew Pouliot, who ran Roto World at the time. He was a one-man wrecking crew at Roto World. He was doing all the NBA write-ups. He was doing all the baseball and all the football by himself. Like literally
Jesus.
a guy in a basement just blurbing his life away all day long. And so I emailed him and I was like, hey, dude, I feel like you could probably use some help. I'm a basketball guy. I live in Indiana. And all I do while I'm at work is play with my fantasy teams. And I'm a total slacker, but I love fantasy and I'm a good writer. I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind me helping you out. And he emailed me back. I think this was 99. He emailed me back and he was like, hey, go ahead and blurb these 3 games on Tuesday night. And he listed the games. And I said, I emailed him back and I was like, okay, well, what do I need to do? He's like, here's a link. Here's your password. Go for it. And just do them in the same style that I do. And I was like, okay. I go, does it pay anything? He goes, no. I said, okay. All right, man, I'm going to blurb on Tuesday night. And, I got so excited. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to write a blurb and it's going to be on Roto World. Like I freaked out. I'm telling all my friends. And I remember Dirk Nowitzki played that night. And he was one of the first blurbs I ever wrote. So a blurb is a player news blurb. You know what they are. People know what blurbs are. So I wrote like Dirk Nowitzki had 26 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal, a block, and a 3, and hit, 8 of 16 shots in the Mavericks loss. And so I wrote up like probably 10 players at 2:00 in the morning. I had to be at work by 7. I was all hyped up, so I stayed up all night. So I get the email feedback the next day. 0 training, 0 instruction. Like, hey, just write a blurb and see how it goes. So he emails me back the next day and he goes, that Dirk Nowitzki blurb you wrote. He's like, why'd you write that? And I emailed him back. I was like, oh, it's Dirk Nowitzki. I figured people want to know what he did last night. He goes, what did he do that was out of the ordinary? And I was like, he had a Dirk Nowitzki game. Like there was nothing special about it, nothing good, nothing bad. He goes, we don't blurb normal. Like we blurb news. So if Dirk Nowitzki would have got hurt, or if Dirk Nowitzki would have scored 50, or if Dirk Nowitzki would have scored 10, that's when you blurb Dirk. And so he's like, the rest of your blurbs, they're okay, whatever. Come back and do it again next Tuesday. And I was like, okay. So I was kind of in. And then I blurbed every Tuesday. And then as he got to trust me, he gave me another day. And then I said, would you guys care if I did a column? Because Matthew Pouliot was working at Roto World at that, or Matthew Berry was working at Roto World at that time. And he was the talented Mr. Roto. And he had a column called Talented Mr. Roto.
Nice. Good name.
And I was like, can I write a basketball column? They're like, we don't give a shit, really. Like, you can do whatever you want. We're not paying you. This is free content for us. And maybe you'll be good at this. And I was like, okay. So I talked to my buddy Keelan, who I still play fantasy with today. I was like, dude, I need a nickname. I need a cool nickname like talented Mr. Roto has. And he's like, why don't you be Dr. A, man? Instead of Dr. J, you'll be Dr. A. And I was like, I'm going to be Dr. A. And I named my first column Ask Dr. A. And wrote a column, and I wrote probably some My Guys BS and whatever I do. And then I said, hit me with questions and I'll answer your emails in this column every week. And Ask Dr. A lasted for a pretty long time, I think. And then that was before we had daily doses and before I actually had a boss at Roto World. So I think I did that for the rest of that whole season. And then that summer, I got an email from Rick Wolf, and he was like, here's the lineup of what people's responsibilities are next year. And I wasn't on it. And I emailed Matthew. I'm like, hey, dude, why am I not on the schedule for next year or whatever? And he was like, oh, I don't know. Maybe you slipped through the cracks. And I emailed Rick and I was like, dude, why am I not on? He's like, I didn't know you were working for us. And I mean, it really was like one of those stories that doesn't even, it's something that's not really possible in today's world, I don't think. But so I talked to Rick and he's like, all right, man, okay, I'll put you on the schedule. He goes, by the way, he's like, have you ever written a draft guide? And I go, no. He goes, all right. He goes, I'll give you $1,000 to write the NBA draft guide for 2000 for the year 2000. I was like, okay. He's like, can you do it? And I was like, yeah, of course I can. And I hung up or got off the phone or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, how do you write a draft guide? And so my buddy John Grabhorn, my neighbor and friend, came over to my house and he would read me stats out of the newspaper, whatever, and I would type them into the spreadsheet. And I wrote a draft guide by myself and got paid $1,000 for it. And after that, I was officially kind of in and kind of grew. They actually hired a manager that spoke to me and they started paying me. I was getting like $25 a week for the column and $10 an hour for blurbing. And from there, it just kept going and kept going. And NBC bought Roto World in 2006. We just moved to Georgia. I was like, I quit my job. I don't have anything to do. I just want to do fantasy. And I did NASCAR. I did Arena League football. I did basketball. I did the PGA Tour, all for Roto World. And I became the only PGA Tour guy. And I kind of, at that point, you're like, where did you get your voice? My voice was just me. I was just writing the way that I thought I would want someone talking to me. And I tried to speak in very casual, normal tones, tried to be funny here and there, but not funny all the time to where it was stupid. And I did. I wrote about my interests. Like at the end of my columns, at the end of a daily dose, or at the end of a column, I would write about, my indie band of the week. And I did Band of Horses one time. And our buddy Sonia, who we used to play with, who manages the club in Minneapolis, texted me one time in like 2007, 2000. No, it was 2006. She's like, dude, Band of Horses is sitting here reading your column that you wrote about them. I was like, what? No way. And they contacted me and we became friends back then. And we're still friends today because of it. And so when NBC bought Roto World, I had to go on a conference call with like the big shots at NBC Sports. I had to negotiate my contract, which never done anything like that before. I don't have an agent. I had no idea what I was doing. I just remember being on that call with them and like almost begging for money. I was like, I just want to be able to support my family and do, work for NBC. I love this job so much. I love working for y'all. I just need like, this much money to survive. And they were cool. And I got it and a little bit more. And then eventually they made me the NBA senior editor at NBC Sports for fantasy. And then I was able to hire people and fire people and kind of groom people that were coming in. And the rest is kind of history until I got laid off in 2022. along with a bunch of other people that I had hired and that I worked with. So it was a great ride, a great run. It got me into the Fantasy Sports Hall of Fame. I don't know if you want to see my plaque or not, but that's pretty much my story.
That's such a great story, Steve. I never heard it, the whole thing. Fucking A.
And
I mean, that's
I remember being in my basement in my house in Indianapolis, and I called Matthew Berry on the phone because we were buddies. We worked at Roto World together. I had his phone number. I called him. He's like, "What's up, dude?" And I was like, "Dude, NBC will not hire me full time, and I'm trying to figure out why." He's like, "They're weird, man." He's like, you just gotta keep waiting and putting your time, and eventually, if you're good enough, it'll happen. But there's no guarantee that they'll ever hire you full time. They were always weird with me, and Roto World had actually, I believe, fired Matthew Berry. I don't know if they fired him, but their run came to an end because of a disagreement between several things. And Matthew kept his Town Mr. Roto newsletter going, and he started doing all these things and projects, and eventually ESPN hired him and paid him $1 bazillion. Now he's probably the highest paid fantasy sports guy of all time. Way more hired than I ever was, or way more paid than I ever was. But I remember talking to him, and I was like, dude, are they ever gonna hire me? He's like, I don't know, man. He's like, they just kind of leave you hanging until they don't. And that's exactly what happened. Eventually they were like, all right, we're bringing you on. You're going to be staff. You're going to be full-time. And then the people after me that I hired, 2 years in, they're like, dude, are they ever going to hire me full-time? I'm like, I don't know, man. It's very tricky. You just got to keep hanging in there and keeping your head down and doing a good job. And hopefully it happens. It happened for several of my buddies, but pretty wild story. And I'm sorry I interrupted you there, but I thought that phone call with Matthew Berry in 2003 was pretty epic in my journey.
So how is it working? Is this the first time then you've worked with Rick, like doing something together?
Interesting question. So Rick hosted the fantasy basketball show on NBA TV back in the day. And as soon as I got on at Roto World, I thought I was hot shit. And so I would call in on his show, and he had guest callers. And I was like, hey, it's Dr. A from Roto World. And they're like, all right, Dr. A, you'll be on in 2 minutes or whatever. Put me on with Rick, and he's like, Dr. A from Roto World. Are you really Dr. A from Roto World? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, dude, I use Roto World for everything I do on the air. Like when I have a computer in front of me, it's on Roto World. When I have a phone in front of me, it's on Roto World. Like that's my go-to site. I'm like, well, I'm that guy. That's all I do is NBA at Roto World. And he was like, wow. He's like, I love you, dude. And so it got to the point where I would call the show and I'd be like, hey, it's Doc. And then they're like, all right, man, hold on. We'll get you on first. And I was like the front of the line guy to call in. I'd call in like every other night. Sometimes I would be coming back from the club and maybe be a little more buzzed than I should be. And other times I was just watching hoops and talking to Rick. And we became buddies. And he got me into League Freak, which was the ultimate fantasy basketball league as far as I was concerned at the time, because that was his private league. And he always talked about it on the air like he does all his leagues. So I got in there and I met all his boys and I won it. I won League Freak in like my third year. And it's no longer, I don't think it's still going. It got super expensive. I had to get out. But so then in like 2000, when did we get on Twitter? Was it 2012? I feel like that's
Yeah,
right.
sure. That sounds right.
So 2012-ish, I get a phone call from Rick Kama. He's like, bro, NBA Turner bought NBA TV, and I'm moving to Atlanta, and I'm down here right now, and I'm staying with a buddy, but his wife hates me, and she's kicking me out of the house. He's like, "Do you know somewhere I can stay?" And I was like, "I got you, bro. Just come on up to Dahlonega." He's like, "Where is that?" I'm like, "It's about an hour from the TNT studio." He goes, "I can do that." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, bring it." He's like, "I'll be there tomorrow." So Kayla came and lived with us, me and my wife and my kids, for like 4 or 5 months in
Oh my god.
2012. And that was like 2 frat brothers, who were actually brothers and troublemakers, like staying up all night, doing our all night stuff, going to bed at like 10 o'clock in the morning and then doing it all again the next day. It was absolutely insane and it was super fun.
And now look, you're back together.
And then I was on his NBA TV shows and when he was doing a fantasy show at prime time for a while, I was on that one a lot as a caller and a guest. And then I've been on his radio show a couple of times and he's been on my show a few times. We always have played in leagues together. So we've always been tight, but we've never technically like worked together. And I talked to him when he stopped working at the the Sirius radio show he had, and I told my boys at Sports Ethos, I was like, I think Cam is available, man, and they went and got him. So me and Brewski and Kamla all back together. It's wild because I
That is
hired
cool.
Brewski at Roto World, and then he got let go, and we kind of broke up, and the whole gang is back together. It's awesome.
It's
Are
great
you
how
guys
things
gonna
work out.
Yeah, totally. Are you gonna keep doing your After Dark show next season?
I hope so. I hope so. It is interesting though. I like since we stopped doing that, I've started to live like a normal human being for the first time in 25 years where I kind of go to bed before 3 a.m. and kind of get up when it's before noon, which is all very new to me because my whole adult life really I've been like up all night watching hoops, writing hoops. My body's so conditioned to going to bed at 5 or 6 in the morning that it's actually hard to get it turned into normal. I am happy to do after dark and do the shows live when the game's in. I just don't know if that makes the most sense for us to try to blow this thing up and make money doing it. So I don't know. That's kind of an Andre decision, but I'm sure we'll all get together and talk about it next year and figure it out.
It's funny. One thing I've always struggled with like making fantasy content is like staying up late to try and get out some tweets like post games or like recaps and things like that. I don't know what it is. I'm only 22, but I need to be in bed by like 10, 11 o'clock.
That's
It's the
tough.
craziest thing. It's hard. It's hard. So I try to do like morning stuff, but oh my God, brutal.
It's tough to be a basketball person if you
Hmm.
want to go to bed before 2 a.m. because everything
Yeah.
there's so much that happens late. Um, and I used to be really good about with Twitter. Like I was really into Twitter, and I would tweet all the time and try to tweet like fun facts and fun stuff, or just bitch and moan about stuff that wasn't going right for me or whatever. But I just don't. I'm not on Twitter very much anymore. I'm more just chilling and watching the games, and uh, sometimes I'll get a bug, and I mostly just tweet out the links to our show because I think that's the easiest way for people to find it. But yeah, it's got to be tough to be a fantasy content writer and go to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
It really is because I remember there's so many trades that I've missed, like at the trade deadline, for example, and I'll wake up and be like, "Oh, this person was traded here, like blockbuster move," and I completely missed it because I was asleep at 10 o'clock.
Well,
So,
the Luca trade happened at like 12:30 at night, I believe,
and I was
East
passed
Coast.
out.
And I was sitting at Johnny B's, my little local bar. I was sitting there in the back of the bar. It's a lot of little kids running around. A lot of it's a college bar at nighttime on Saturday, but during the day it's an old regular local bar. And I was still there. My daughter was hanging out, and I'm sitting there minding my own business, kind of watching Sports Center and everybody around me. There were so many people, and And I see this ticker come on the bottom. It's like breaking news. Luka traded for Anthony Davis. And I was like, I didn't have my glasses on. The TV was kind of far away. I'm like, I did not read that. So I get out of my chair and I walk across the bar and I go up to the bar. I'm looking at the TV. Comes across again. It's like, Luka traded for Anthony Davis. And I was like, oh my God. Like, literally the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen scroll across a television in my entire life. And I'm like getting all the dudes that are still there that I know that like sports. I'm like, look, and they're like, that's not real. No, that's not real. Like, none of us could believe it. And then I got on Twitter, of course. I'm like, oh my God, this is real. Like, what just happened? Like, I'm still in shock that it happened.
Yeah, I remember like opening up my phone in the morning and I saw all these things about Luka being traded. And I thought I was being like punked or something. So then I went to Twitter and I saw that Shams posted it. And I was like, okay, maybe he got hacked. Like, there's no way that this just happened. It was true and it was crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The wildest thing I've ever seen in my 20 whatever
Yeah.
years of doing this, like, by far.
I still can't wrap my head around it.
What do you think? Because Doc loves Luka Doncic. What do you think about how he's fit with the Lakers? Like, what do you think their playoff chances look like with Luka there?
I don't know, man. It's too bad they couldn't have kept AD, because if they had AD and those guys, then I'd be like, okay, they might win it all. But now we're looking at Jackson Hayes, and Rui Hachimura, and they don't even play Dalton Connect, which pisses me off. I don't like that. I think he should be playing more. I love the fact that Luka and LeBron are both quarterbacks. It's like they have two Tom Brady's out there on the court at the same time. Luka can run the offense. LeBron can run the offense. It doesn't matter. They can both score. Everybody bags on Luka's lack of defense, which I get. But, I mean, he looked really bad against the Celtics last year in the finals. And, a lot of stuff was replayed and zoomed in on and slowed down. And they really exposed his struggles. But he's not that bad of a defender. He gets a decent amount of blocks. He gets a decent amount of steals. He keeps his guy in front of him a majority of the time. So I don't think he's as bad of a defensive player as people make him out to be, but he's certainly not a Dyson Daniels or some stud that shuts everybody down. I think the Lakers, I think they can win the play-in, and I think they can maybe win a series or two. Yuri, unlike you, I haven't broken down the bracket to see who they would play next.
Well, they're not in the play-in; they're in, so they're playing Minnesota.
Oh yeah. I screwed that up. They're number 4, right? They're playing Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think they can beat Minnesota.
I do too, but I think it's going to take 7 games.
Dude, every time I look at Anthony Edwards' box score, I feel like it says like 7 for 21, 8 for 24. Like, he rarely plays that well. And they also don't have much playoff experience. They were the number 1 seed for a long time last year in the West. And they didn't do it. They took out the Suns, they took out Denver, but then they got beat. I would not be surprised if the Lakers win that series.
In 6 or 5 or 6?
No. I mean, if they win it, I think it'll go 7.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see like Dante and Julius Randle and see how those guys step up. I think Gobert and McDaniels are going to show up. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really fun series, though.
Well, Gobert should have a good series because he's only got to deal with Jackson Hayes. But I feel like people have just been going at Gobert this year. Like, nobody's scared of Rudy Gobert anymore. Like the
Mm.
number of
Mm.
times like short guards were dunking in his face this year, like it was unreal. Like everybody wants to go at Gobert, and I just don't think he's the defensive stopper that he used to be.
Yeah. Are there any writers or content creators that you admire or you like reading and consuming their content, Doc?
I think the guy that got me started, well, Matthew Berry, obviously. I read everything he was doing because I wanted to do what he did. And then Bill Simmons, back when he was just he was writing about movies and pop culture and
On
sports
Grantland?
at ESPN. Well, way before Grantland,
Oh.
he was just the ESPN once a week columnist type thing, and I would read all of those. I was like, man, this guy's talking about movies and music, and
Hmm.
he's not just like totally dialed into the sport he's talking about. He's doing all this random stuff around it. And it was really spoke to me, I think, and because I was like, well, I could sit here and just write fantasy stats and just nerd out and put everybody to sleep, or I could try to be creative and try to write something fun that I would enjoy reading that talks about what you need to know, but also throws in some other stuff just in case you care. And those were the two that really had an impact on me. Like I was so busy in the 2000s and the 2010s, working all the time. I really didn't have time to read other people or listen to podcasts or watch college basketball. It was a grind, man. Blurbing every night after the games is a grind. And writing the daily dose at 4 o'clock in the morning, grind. So I didn't have time to do a lot of other stuff. But I think those Bill Simmons columns in the beginning really played a part in how I wrote and what I talked about. And I'm not even a huge Bill Simmons fan, um, but I really liked the way he wrote back then.
Yeah. I miss your breakdown blurbs of our drafts in the rock and roll league. Those were fun. And Malcolmus used to do that too in the league that he was commissioning, remember?
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe I'll do it now. Do it again now that I got some time on my hands because this is pretty cool. I like my sports ethos gig because we do the podcast in the morning now, and then we're done for the day and write a column a week. Like it's cool. I should have more time to do stuff. I'll try to be a better commissioner next year.
That would be fun.
Kayla,
So
what's your
yeah, what's your
story?
story, Kayla?
My story. Well, I'm still relatively new to the fantasy industry. So I started about 3-ish years ago. Yeah, I just randomly started a couple of leagues. I was only playing like 2 or 3, and I wasn't creating content at first either. I always knew that I wanted to be a sports journalist, but I wasn't really doing fantasy content. It was more so just NBA stuff. A lot of analysis, news, rumors, a lot of Raptors stuff too. And then I think the second year that I was doing fantasy, that's when I started to get into writing about it. Because the page that I work for, Lost Run Sports, they wanted us to pick a specialty. So we were no longer able to like do random pieces on like the Suns and then the Raptors and then the Celtics. They wanted you to focus on just one thing. And everyone kind of had their own thing. And I wanted to do something different that no one else was doing. So I chose fantasy. So for the longest time, I was like the only fantasy writer there. And then that's when I started writing about it. And then DMAC, or NBA Fantasy Bible, he reached out to me about doing a podcast. And at first I was a little hesitant because podcasting isn't really my thing. It's always been writing. But I figured it was a good way to break into the industry. And DMAC was a really sweet guy. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. And not long after that, I met Yuri. And I remember it was on Twitter. I think that was when we first started talking because you commented on one of my posts that Josh Lloyd mentioned me in one of his videos. And I was like, there's no fucking way. Like, the Josh Lloyd, like, that's crazy. And then I went to go watch the video and I saw it and he did. And then Yuri and I got talking. And this was the year that I was graduating university. So for one of my final projects, I took journalism. I had to do like a passion project. So I chose to do everything on fantasy basketball. And the last assignment I had, I did a podcast. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get Yuri on. It would be like amazing if we did like a women's only fantasy podcast. I mean, no one's really doing that right now. So even though it was just for a project, like it was fantastic. And we ended up publishing it, which was amazing. And then after that, it just snowballed into Bitches Be Balling. So now I have that in between two hoops, and I got my writing gig on the side, and it's fantastic.
Because you cover the Bulls, right?
Bulls? No, I did the Raptors before, and then now just general fantasy. Yeah,
Okay.
always Raptors, and then like
I
teams
don't
on
know
the
why I
side
thought
here and
Bulls.
there.
Okay. But you don't do the Raptors anymore. You're just doing fantasy.
Yeah, just fantasy. Yeah.
That's cool. It's funny, Yuri, because back way in the day, I was obsessed with Pavement, as we know, and I was always like reading Pavement interviews, and they were so mysterious back in the 90s. Like, you never really saw them, the band Pavement. And anyway, I was reading an interview with Stephen Malkmus that was in the Cincinnati Enquirer, and they were like, hey man, I hear you're a big fantasy sports guy. How'd you do in your leagues this year? He goes, well, Janet just won our basketball league this year. The guy's like, well, you got beat by a girl? And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, Janet's tough, dude. He's like, the league's pretty competitive, though. He's like, we're all pretty good. We all read this guy, Steve Alexander at Roto World, Dr. A. And as long as you read what he writes, like, you'll be pretty good at fantasy hoops. And so I read that, having no idea that it was there. And I was like, holy shit. Like, Malcolmus knows who I am. Like, no way. And so that was when I sort of got the idea that, all right, I need to get into a Malcolmus league. I need to find a way to make this happen. So at the end of one of my columns, I read, if you're in a band you think I've ever heard of and you want to play in Fantasy Hoops League with me and a bunch of other rock stars, send me an email and I'll put it all together and run the whole thing. And I heard back from Bo in My Morning Jacket. I heard back from Janet. I heard from Doug. I heard, so Yuri, you eventually got involved. I heard back from all these bands that I love, and no Malcolmus. And then one night, I was driving home from Florida with my family. It's like midnight. Janet Weiss calls me on the phone. We're talking for a while. She goes, hey, dude, Malcolmus wants you to play in his basketball league this year. Yes, I did it. I did it. So she invited me into Malcolmus's league, and then I got in the league, and then got to go to a show in Atlanta in 2010 and meet him and the whole band, and they rolled out the red carpet for me. So, sort of like the Masters thing. My friends that I've made that play rock and roll, has been my favorite part of this job by far. I'm still good friends with so many of you all, and I really love that rock and roll league. I don't think I've ever won it. I don't think I've ever done well in it, but it's my favorite league.
It's so funny. It's like the curse of that league for you.
No, I can't do anything in that league. But yeah, so that's another part of the story too. I've read that Malcolmus knew who I was after I'd seen Pavement probably 7 times at that point. It's crazy.
That's so funny that Janet was the one that hit you up too. Was she playing drums with the Jicks when that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And now she's like, I've been trying to get her to play fantasy again in our women's only league, but she's so funny. I think she thinks that like she has a problem, when she's playing it, and she doesn't want to like alcoholism. Like she doesn't want to like dip her toe back in because it
Be a
could be dangerous.
fantasy edge. Just one more drink will do it. Just one drink.
Yeah.
You're back. You're back on the road to recovery. Now
And
it's funny, man, because I there are people who say that, like Andy from Manchester was like, no, dude, I can't do it this year. I become too obsessed with it, and it takes me out of my game from what I need to be doing with real life, and I can't manage. And he didn't say that exactly, but there's people that are like, I can't do a serious fantasy league and also what I need to do. I become too obsessed.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it kind of like sucks you in. And the more leagues that you do, like it's a lot harder not only to just keep up with the league, but also with like other things that you need to do because you end up spending so much time looking at stats, recaps, who to pick up, who to drop, that it's very time consuming.
Well, basketball is every day. It's an
Yeah.
everyday sport, so you got to make moves every day. And
Mhm.
baseball is an everyday sport. Plus, you're dealing with pitchers and fielders and hitters. So baseball is like basketball on steroids.
oh, wow.
It's ridiculous how much time it takes to do baseball. And then,
Wow.
these football's the big one that everybody plays and everybody loves, and it's like 3 or 4 days a week, but you really only have to make decisions one time. Football is by far the easiest and at least the least rigorous, I would say, fantasy sport to play.
I couldn't imagine playing baseball if it's basketball on steroids. I mean,
Dude,
Yeah.
Kayla has 10 baseball leagues.
Holy
And
shit.
I think you've got 10 pitchers and 15 hitters that you have to manage every day.
oh my God.
Yeah, too
It's
much.
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Oh
that'd be too hard
man.
to manage. There's no way.
I have
Um,
3 baseball teams. But that's the other thing. I used to, when I was in it, when I was way deep in it, in working at Roto World, I was in sometimes 15, 16, 17 basketball leagues
oh my
all at the
God.
same time and trying to I knew I wasn't ever going to make a good pickup because I had to prioritize my leagues, and be like, find the 2 teams I really cared about and make sure I try to manage them correctly because you're trying to manage 15 teams. It's almost impossible.
Yeah. How many leagues do you play now or like recently?
I think this last year I was in 5, and that's doable.
Mm.
And I
Yeah, that's
just
good
got,
amount.
I just bailed out of Cam Dynasty. I don't like dynasty leagues for basketball, where you just keep the same team and just keep building on it through the draft. It's not fun for me. Like my favorite part of an NBA draft is draft night when
Yeah.
you have a chance to get Luka or you have a chance to get Wemby or whatever. If my whole focus is trying to get Cooper Flag as the best player in my draft, it just doesn't do it for me. So getting away from the dynasties.
Yeah, I've never done a dynasty league before. I mean, I want to try it, but I'm the same as you. Or, I mean, the excitement is from drafting and picking different players every time, right? So I get that.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's always fun drafting with you, Steve, because you reach like no other. Like nobody
do.
reaches like you do. It's so
I'm a
fucking
reacher.
awesome.
I take my guys. I do whatever I
Yeah,
have to
you
do to
take
get
them
my guys.
early. Yeah. I
And
I
this
think
year, those guys were Josh Giddey and Dyson Daniels for me. And I got them
uh-huh.
all everywhere for the most part. And I had a really good season. Nobody believed me that Josh Giddey was going to be good in Chicago, but maybe he was helped by all the injuries they had. But he was pretty awesome, especially the second half.
I wonder where he's gonna go next year. We're doing a mock 20 for next year just to see how
Mhm.
people are thinking about players at the end of the season. I'm curious to see where Giddy goes.
Giddey and Dyson Daniels both, because Daniels is first round talent this year
Yeah.
based on all the steals.
Yeah.
Cam was like, he doesn't score enough points, doesn't get enough. Not a first round player. Nobody's going to take him in the first round. So I'm thinking Dyson Daniels and Giddy both are probably going to go like Dyson might go round 3. I think Giddy's round 4 or 5. If I had to guess. Well, those are leagues that I'm not in, because if I'm in the league, they're probably going earlier than that. Because I will reach.
If you have the number 1 pick, who are you going to pick? Who would you pick?
Wemby.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually go Jokic. But Wemby is like number 2 for sure. But Wemby, I did pick him in one league this year, and that was only because I only got the number 1 pick twice. So I wanted one of each. I've never had Wemby before, so I had to try him out.
It was fun until the blood clot.
Yeah, which was unfortunate.
Hopefully he's okay, man.
Yeah. I'm just thinking too, I haven't heard any updates recently.
He was at a game the other day.
Oh, was
I
he?
saw something the other day.
He looked really
good.
good too. And I think Lillard is maybe going to come back during the playoffs. He might.
Yes, yeah, he's missing the start.
They said, yeah.
Yeah, but he's gonna miss the start. I thought he might be back for the start, so that's too bad. Man, I feel like the Bucks really screwed that up. They lost Drew Holiday. He went to the Celtics and made them so much tougher defensively. Trae Young just got thrown out.
He did. He got ejected.
Yep.
Oh, they're down by 20 now.
Yeah, Magic got it.
I needed a double from Trae.
Yeah, with 5 minutes left in the fourth. Yeah.
Wow. Ejected.
I'm kind of glad the Magic won, though. It'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, without Suggs, it's great.
They play good D, man. They play good D, and nobody can stop Banchero. So
yeah, I'm a big Banchero fan.
I don't remember what I was talking about.
Well, I have a question.
What you got?
Steve, would you have any objection to be an honorary bitch?
What's that mean?
Well, it means when we have male guests on the show, Adam King actually started this term. He's like, if I'm on the show, does it mean I'm an honorary bitch? And I was like, yeah, if you want to be. And so we ask anyone that's male that comes on the show if they would like to be an honorary bitch. You don't have to be if you don't want to be, but
oh, no. I've called enough people biatch in the last 25
so
years.
you are an honorary biatch.
Yes,
absolutely. Okay, you're HB4 officially. That's your.
I'm a Snoop. I'm a Snoop biatch.
Yeah. And the other thing that we always ask of our guests is to pick a bitchin', well, not a bitch, but bitchin' bitch of the week. So, badass bitch of the week, bitchin' bitch. Who would it be for you? And it doesn't need to be anyone that's famous or sports related or anything. It's just
a
woman that you feel is just completely badass.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Well, I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm not going to say Katy Perry and the other astronauts. That is not who I'm going to go with. That's
fair. I wouldn't have chosen him either.
Not to offend any ladies out there, but that's not where I'm going to go with this. Let's see here. I wish Craig Finn was a female because I really am loving his new solo record. I don't know her name, but I'm going to go with the girl from Waxahachie.
Oh, the lead singer?
Yeah.
I think her name's Katie.
I think it's just her. I think she is Waxahachie, I think.
Yeah.
But when the pandemic was going on and I found that record that she had, like, I listened to it so many times over and over again. And she's really, really, really good. And I thought that album was amazing. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. And then my other, what is it? Bad bitch of the week?
Badass bitch. And her name is Katie Crutchfield.
Katie Crutchfield. And then I'm just going to give an honorary shout out to my girlfriend, Belinda Carlisle, who I'm still in love with 45 years later.
She looks fabulous and she sounds great too. They just performed at Coachella.
Dude, when the Go-Go's, when Beauty and the Beat came out and they did Our Lips Are Sealed video and she's dancing in that fountain, I was like a 6th grade kid. She had me. I was in love.
Aww.
Still am today.
That's your big crush, huh?
Yes, Belinda Carlisle was.
That's pretty cute. Pretty cute. Well, those are great picks.
Very good picks.
Do you have any?
I wish I could have come up with something more timely, but
no, those are great picks.
Those are great.
I mean, do you have any questions or comments for us?
Not really. I wish I would. I wish I spent more time watching bitches be balling. I will say it's very cool because I know Rick and Andre, who I work with, and Brewski were all like, "Oh man, bitches be balling. That's cool. Like we need more women in this industry." Like I think people think what you're doing is very cool, and I hope that people latch on and figure it out, and that you can blow this thing up. Because I know there's women out there playing fantasy hoops.
I know.
I know there are. You and Amy are the two, and Janet are the three main ladies that I played with. But there have to be others out there that play. So, and I think bitches be balling is. I mean, that's catchy. It's a catchy title, draws attention. Let's do this. Let's blow it up.
Shout out to Sticky for coming up with that name.
Sticky.
Sticky.
I never got to meet old Sticky.
Sticky is really a joy to be around in person. Like if there's one person that you want to go to a show with, it's Sticky. And he and I share a favorite band of both of ours, who is the Jesus Lizard. And I get to go see the Jesus Lizard in a couple weeks, and I cannot fucking wait.
Ooh,
is Sticky going?
Sticky lives in Portland. He's going to be going to the Portland show, and I'll be going to the San Francisco show. Yeah.
I think I saw Jesus Lizard at a Lollapalooza, like 93, 94.
Yeah.
95. They may have played on the same one Pavement played on with Sinead O'Connor and Beck.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I didn't really pay much attention to them though. I didn't know anything about them. I was there to see Pavement.
You didn't get into the Lizard?
I never got into the Lizard. No, I've never really listened to them though. So I don't know the Lizard. Maybe I need to check out the Lizard. Where do I start? Which album do I start with?
I mean, everyone says Goat is kind of the one.
All right.
I would check out Goat. It's got lots of flames on the cover.
Okay. I'll check out the Lizard.
I'll have to check that out too.
Yeah, let me know.
I'm gonna write it down.
I mean, it's Goat. Very loud. So be in a good headspace to have really loud, but it's strangely very melodic too.
Good to know.
Well, Kayla, Steve, when you were on with Brewski and I before the season started, I think it was you. We had you on, right?
Yes, yeah.
And did you mention like sitting around with other beat writers talking about? You mentioned a band. Was that you? Would you have done that?
I can't remember. I did go on one show. We were talking about a bunch of bands, and I don't know if I mentioned it during your show.
Well, maybe it was like sitting around with other beat writers talking about Alt J or listening to Alt J. I don't remember what band you said, but it was.
I can't remember either.
It was a cool band, and I think it was you that said it. But it was just a funny comment because you're like, when we're not talking about basketball, we're all talking about the latest whoever song, and it wasn't Taylor Swift or anything. But
I don't like Taylor Swift. No,
but it
might have been me, but I can't remember.
I don't remember either. Whatever.
What kind of music are you into, Kayla?
I like alternative. So like my favorite group all time, Young the Giant. So they're
Young
like
the Giant.
alternative indie. Yeah,
Huh.
Is that
they're not super.
the cough syrup band?
Yes, that's the one.
They've got cough syrup and they've got the other one. There's two.
Mind Over Matter is a big one.
Young the Giant.
Yeah, I saw them last year or 2 years ago. Oh, they're fantastic. Even Matthew Good, love that guy. Metric is another good one too. I'm gonna
Okay,
go
I
see
know
them in June.
Metric.
I'm going to see them in June. I'm so excited. So that's gonna be great.
They're
Yeah,
Canadian, aren't they?
I don't know actually.
I thought they were.
I was trying to think that earlier. I don't know.
Steve, are you going to any shows coming up?
They are Canadian.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Maybe some Band of Horses. I don't have anything planned. I went to that REM reunion thing in
Yeah.
Athens, dude. That was
Oh
that
my
was
gosh.
that was off
The
the
painting thing is
chain.
so great.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was pretty special. And I ran into Bill Berry afterwards, and he goes, "Hey, I just signed that painting. I had this painting at the REM show. My grandfather painted it, and it was the last thing he ever painted. I gave him my T-shirt and said, 'Here, paint this for me.' He did, but he died before he was done finishing it. And so I have that painting in my house. I took it with me because I knew REM was going to be there. And my friend Doug took it backstage and had everybody sign it for me. And like they did a really good job. And Soren and I were walking to the car, and Bill Berry was out there, and he saw it. And he goes, "Hey, I just signed that like 5 minutes ago." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Did they tell you the story about it?" He goes, "No." And I was like, "My grandfather was painting this, and it was the last thing he painted. He died while it was still on the easel." And he's like, I thought he was going to start crying. He's like, "That's the coolest story, man. I love that so much." He's like, "I'm Bill." And he like introduced himself to Soren. Like, it was so cool. He was super nice. He's like, "Welcome to Athens." But yeah, that was pretty fun. I don't have anything planned. Too old, man. I don't go to Atlanta very much unless one of my friends is down there.
Yeah, I guess Atlanta would be where you need to go, huh?
Yeah.
What's your favorite REM record?
It depends on what day, but I mean, it varies between Murmur and Reckoning and Life's Just Pageant, probably those three.
Yeah. If you could only pick one that you could listen to, like on a desert island,
Probably
one
be
would you pick?
Life's Just it'd probably be Murmur, but it might be Life's Just Pageant. Like Murmur, I like because you still hear stuff. Like you can never understand what Stipe is saying or singing. And you can kind of invent your own lyrics for that record. Yeah, that's a toss up between those two. I'd probably just mix them up like a deck of cards and pick one.
Yeah.
And go off to my island.
Yeah. Well, Steve, thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's been really great having you on, and I'm looking forward to, having you on again next season and playing fantasy with you. And I'm glad that you're potting because I think I just love listening to you, and especially you and your interactions with Ray. Like you never know how it's going to be from show to show. I fucking love it. You guys are like old married couple, which I really love. So yeah, good stuff.
Well, thanks, man. I love what you guys are doing, and I hope I'll tweet this out. Anytime you post an episode, want me to tweet it, just shoot it at me, and I'll try to hype it up a little bit.
Thanks, we
I
appreciate
want
that.
you guys to do it. I want you guys to be doing this 5 years from now and actually making a little money doing it.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Well, Kayla, let's not get caught.
Let's keep going.